Welcome, everyone, to episode 9.
10.
No, wrong.
Nailed
10
it.
of the Dual Boot Diaries, the weekly podcast where two longtime Windows users try to use Linux daily. I am one of your hosts, Adam Patrick Murray.
I'm your other host, Will Smith, and we're not Linux experts, but we are figuring it out as we go. And at the end of this, theoretically, we're going to take one of the partitions on our hard drive, either Linux or Windows, and fire it into the sun.
Jet it into the sun. Before we start this week, we have a lot to get to.
Yeah.
It has been eventful.
Yeah. What's your Halloween costume? It's Halloween. Are you Steve Jobs? You look like Steve Jobs. Black shirt, glasses.
Right. We messed up.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I committed to a Halloween costume over on the Full Nerd. If you aren't watching the Full Nerd, go over for this one episode.
That's why he's weird and beardless too.
Yeah. So, and audio listeners, they won't even know the difference.
No.
But yes, I'm just freshly shaven, Adam. Anyway,
Yeah.
I came in today and I was like, oh my goodness, it's still Halloween week. We are literally releasing this episode on Halloween, and I didn't even think to dress up again.
I'm wearing my costume right now.
What is it?
I'm a Windows user who's trying Linux for the first time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm young Adam trying Linux for the first time.
YUNG Adam, the rapper?
Nope, definitely not. So, yeah, that's why I have no beard, but we did not dress up. So forgive us. Also, forgive us because I have to make a correction right at the top.
Oh, no.
Here.
What'd you do?
We have multiple people who have pointed out to me that I have talked about the relationship between Fedora and Red Hat completely wrong multiple times now.
Yeah, and I didn't correct you enough, apparently.
You knew?
Yeah, I corrected you.
Oh.
Maybe we cut it.
Oh, yeah. No.
No,
Anyway,
anyway.
yeah. So Fedora,
Yeah, based on
from
Red
what I
Hat.
understand, it's not based on Red Hat.
No.
Yeah, so supposedly Fedora is the one where things come to
Oh,
first.
it's the bleeding edge for
yeah,
Red Hat.
yeah, and then Red Hat actually gets the more kind of enterprisey long-term support
it's
kind
the
of stuff.
LTS. Yeah, yeah. Fair.
Yeah, so I always thought it was more like Fedora was a branch of Red Hat, but no, it's kind of the other way around, supposedly.
In the olden days, Fedora spun off of Red Hat, which is why I always think of it as coming from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
hi.
Once again, like we said
We're
at the top,
learning.
we are not Linux users. Also,
Experts.
We
are
Linux
users.
Yes.
Yeah, we're 100% Linux users.
Also, does that even matter?
No.
That I know the relationship? No. But,
I mean, yeah,
but
probably.
we say this on the podcast. We don't want other people trying this out for the first time to get confused like we do. We don't want to spread misinformation. But
It's funny. I've had this conversation with a couple people over the last couple of weeks, which is there's a lot of terminology and there's a lot of stuff that does matter and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
And like what people think of as a distro, we talked about this a little bit last week, I think, actually, is really not the things that make it the distro always, right? Because most people think of the distro as the user interface stuff that they touch, right? Like which desktop environment and all, whether it's using Wayland or X and all that stuff. And in reality, it's pretty much like which version of the kernel, who compiled the kernel, and what package management system it uses.
yeah, last week I kind of had that, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, I had that aha moment. And right now I am running both Ubuntu and Fedora on my devices because I'm really trying to pick which one I want to stick with. But for the most part, I'm running the workstation version of Fedora, and it's GNOME, and then I like the GNOME version of Ubuntu. And the idea, or what I've noticed, is that they kind of look different, or they look the same. I mean, there's some differences, but for the most part, I'm having a hard time picking between the two because they are, at least by default, pretty damn similar.
It's kind of like going to McDonald's in Canada.
Yeah.
It's basically the same.
Yeah. So interesting stuff. We got a lot to get to.
Yeah.
Let's
Big
dive
episode
into it.
this week.
I do want to give a shout out. I had somebody that we had actually met at the Micro Center opening. For those who don't know, Will and I went to the Micro Center down in Santa Clara?
South Bay
of the San Francisco Bay Area. And they had a brand new Micro Center opening a couple months ago. And
Adam walked around the store yelling, "Hey, does anybody here use Linux?"
yeah, if you haven't seen that video, you
pretty funny
probably
video.
have. You should watch it. But I really call that, at least for me, the turning point, because we came back after posting that video and we're like, wow, a lot of people like that. I guess there's a lot of Linux people out there. Should we do a podcast?
Pent up Linux demand.
Yeah, so I feel like that's, at least for me, the inflection point of going down this journey. So it's soft spot
We
in my
wouldn't
heart.
be here without the three nerds that we talked to at Micro Center that day.
Yeah, we talked to some. Well, it was more than that. Some people weren't on camera as well.
That's true.
I did have somebody reach out to me on Discord in a private message. Somebody we had met at the Micro Center opening and was offering assistance and help like that. Really nice to do that. I was asking him some questions. He runs Debian. So
Okay.
that's his distro of choice. I like now asking people what their distro of choice is just to get an understanding of what's going on. And I didn't mark down which or desktop manager, but I don't remember. But he was talking about, hey, it would be really cool if you tried out really crazy window managers. And I mean, he's
like
seen
Neri?
your experience with Neri, I believe, but he recommended one EXVM. I don't know how you say that.
EXVM.
And he says the way to describe it, which I didn't fully understand. Quote, he said, "That way my desktop is just Emacs." So essentially it's just text windows.
Yeah, that's not going to work for me very well, I don't think.
So, I mean, but that sounds crazy. It's not going to work for me either, but I also, it's probably more usable than like Rebecca Black OS.
I kind of want to like, one of the things I like about Cachy is that when you install it, it gives you like just a buttload of choices on
a whole
desktop
list.
environments.
Yeah.
And it's like you put Cosmic on there. You can do KD and GNOME, obviously, but you can do Neri and Hyperlin and all these other different ones.
You can do multiple at the same time.
Yeah.
Which you probably
That's
shouldn't.
a bad idea. But I kind of want to just do a video series where I spend like 15 minutes futzing, like first 15 minutes with each of their choices on the desktop managers. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I have that spare laptop. That now that I've moved Neri over to the main laptop, that's a possibility. So.
Well, anyway. It was cool to chat with you. Thank you for being an awesome friend of the show. So I just want to give that a shout out. But let's move into the actual content. So I have been busy.
What's your homework,
couple
Adam?
weeks.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the homework was.
We didn't copy it over from the last episode.
Well, I did, but then I immediately deleted it because I was doing other stuff. So I've installed Windows on multiple devices, or I'm sorry, Linux. Well, and Windows a little bit.
Wow.
I have a Lenovo Legion Go 2 handheld.
Okay.
And I went through the install process of adding Bazzite because Bazzite just added support for the Go 2.
Oh.
Like you could run it, but I think it was missing certain things like TDP control or something. I don't
probably the controller config stuff is a little hinky too, if I remember.
Well,
maybe not though.
Yeah, because it probably uses the same thing from the first gen. I don't know. Either way, I noticed that popped up, official support. So I was like, okay, cool. I've been meaning to do that anyway. It's actually one of my favorite PC gaming handhelds right now. Like that huge OLED screen. Awesome stuff, but I was like, it's got Windows by default.
Nobody wants that.
Let's throw Bazzite on there. So this is the first time for me installing Bazzite since I've gone down this journey, and it's been kind of interesting to be like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of cool.
It's not scary anymore.
It's not scary, but also like I understand more of what it's doing. The install process was pretty easy, except for I was running into problems.
Oh, of course.
But because I am more knowledgeable, I probably would have just walked away. But now I'm like, okay, you know what? I think I can figure this out. So the initial install kept failing. Like I would go through the process, and it would hit a certain point, and it would just like error out. And with a pretty generic thing, I'd Googled it, and then luckily I went over to our Discord. There's a link in the description if you want to go join the Discord. And I was like, hey peeps, this is what I'm doing. Things aren't looking
it's not
right.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. So and this was the KDE version, which is by default the Steam OS option when you go through the Bazzite install kind of process. So I did like it had something to do with like the way that it's partitioning or something. I checked fdisk.
Were you trying to shrink your Windows partition, or were you trying to wipe the whole thing?
Wipe the whole thing.
Okay.
So like I've learned that lesson. I'm not doing.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah. So it was weird, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and try the GNOME version because you can get the different installer. The GNOME version installed fine.
Weird.
Which was really weird. And I was like, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense. Luckily, friend of the show, Infinite, it reads Infinite, but it's got numbers in there. And was helping me out and then kind of gave me a checklist of things that they usually do upon installing any OS just to make sure the whole drive is completely wiped. So I'm gonna drop this in the description because it's kind of a multi-step process. But essentially, starting checking the disk, making sure the disk is working, and then formatting it in the disk's application, that kind of thing, just to make sure it's super clean, which is cool because you can do that from a live environment, which I appreciate. And then I was like, okay, the GNOME version worked. So, and then I followed the steps to wipe the drive.
Did you try KDE again after that?
I did.
Did it work?
It did not work.
I wonder if they just haven't updated that image yet.
No. So weird enough, I was getting a weird mounting error with my Ventoy drive.
Happens when we get older.
Yeah. When I would put it in Windows, it would do that thing where it's like, oh, hey, this disk has a problem.
Your business is jacked up.
And I was like, I would just dismiss it. I could still see the
As
folder.
one does, yeah.
Just fine. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to re-download the KDE image that I had because I've had the same
you had a
one.
bum ISO?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, so I downloaded a brand new one, put it on the Ventoy disk. I think it was Ventoy, or I think it was multiple ISOs in there. Like something maybe happened with my Ventoy disk. So I re-imaged the Ventoy disk, got the new ISO, loaded it up, installed perfectly fine. So that was weird. And I was even doing the ISO checks in Grub.
When you Grub, I was going to ask because like my most of the installers,
and it checked fine.
It passed the hash?
Yeah. So it was. I don't know why.
I'm very suspect
Once again,
of this.
Yeah. So either way,
Is
I
this
did
a floor
get it installed.
USB?
No. This is my Ventoy disk I've been using. I found it on the floor, but that's beyond the point.
Hard pass.
Anyway, so
okay, well that sounds good.
So, but it was
How is it?
It was cool to go through that process. Like when I first loaded Bazzite on, I believe it was the ROG Ally X,
the original ROG Ally is what it
and I followed friend of the show, Retro Game Core.
Yeah,
love the YouTube channel. Russ is an awesome guy. I followed his step-by-step instructions on how to dual boot Windows and Bazzite, and that was my first time being like, oh wow, these Windows handhelds, or they come pre-installed with Windows. You can have something better, and wow, this really just works like SteamOS.
As you're saying, Linux is better than Windows,
especially for handheld stuff.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of cool. Like, not that the install process is hard, but it was just like, man, this was easy. Instead of having to like watch Russ do his thing and just be like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm going to trust he knows what he's doing, and I'm just going to follow him. Here, I was like, oh, okay, I know how to install this.
Like, this is Linux. You know this. You're like, hey. You troubleshoot that by yourself with a little help from the Discord. That's really good.
No, I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
But I didn't stop there.
Oh,
so I do have.
But wait, there's more.
So I do have this Framework 13.
Okay.
Originally, I had Windows on it because I was doing some testing, whatever. Side note, but I was like, okay, there's two things I want to do. Number one, I want to get Linux on it.
Yeah.
This only has one drive, so
nobody wants one drive.
No. It has a single.
A
single space for a drive.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, I've talked about this before. I feel like I'm delaying the inevitable. I need to figure out how to get rid of Windows rather than crawl back to it. So I was like, I'm going to try this as an example to say, hey, I'm only going to put Linux on this laptop and see how.
Going to bump across the line.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to figure out how to get past the stuff that I need in Windows rather than just like delaying the inevitable. So I installed Bazzite because people have told me like, oh, if Bazzite works with what you need to do, go ahead. And I do like Bazzite has a lot of preloaded stuff. Yeah. It already had extensions in there, like dash to dock. I was able to add easily and all that kind of stuff. And then I don't know, like I was missing a more cleaner situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to put Fedora. So I ended up installing both Fedora and Ubuntu on this device. So I'm dual booting Linux in here because, like I said earlier, I'm trying to figure out which one I want to use.
Dual booting Linux, no problem, because it doesn't overwrite the boot folder.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to update and wipe out your business.
Yeah. So that was nice. I think the thing that broke it for me, Bazzite, was that I was trying to install 1Password and I was trying to install Refind, which is that bootloader or bootloader?
Bootloader. It doesn't matter. It lets you choose which OS.
We'll hear about it.
Look, technically correct.
So and like loading up RPMs was a pain in the butt on Bazzite. And I don't know if it's because it's...
Oh, it's because it's immutable. Yeah. You have to so you can run like Flatpak. So this is the situation where you're trying to write to the program files directory, but the program files directory is basically wiped out every time that you update the OS, right? Because a new image comes down.
Which is cool, because I mean, originally I was like, oh, this is great, then I can't mess anything up, but they make it a little bit harder to install stuff. Well, and it was also less clear to me, like how to install it.
On the Steam Deck, it just installs that stuff into your profile folder when you use Dolphin or when you use I can't remember what the package manager that ships with Steam OS is.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It basically you can install stuff just like you normally would from Arch. It just puts it in the folder that isn't part of the immutable OS. It's part of your home folder.
Yeah. Well, so 1Password, they have instructions over on their website right now. We're looking at these in front. And so for Fedora and Red Hat, first you have to add the key to get the 1Password from the Yum repository, which is funny. Yummy. I don't know what that stands for. Do you think it stands for something?
Yeah,
Yum.
Your ultimate manager.
Yeah. So do that and then add 1Password from that repository and then install it. Also, I know this is a really dumb thing. This is a side note. I'm going to take a little journey here.
Okay.
Because when I started off with Pop OS, right?
Yeah.
And then I moved to Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Ubuntu.
Yeah, no extra. There's no M. There's
one of these days.
Ubuntu. There's no M.
Ubuntu.
No, there's only one. Yeah, okay. Nailed it.
I'll get there one day. I'm so used to doing sudo apt that when I have to type in sudo DNF in Bazzite, it's breaking my brain. I know it's stupid,
but you'll but you'll get used to that.
Yeah, so
you'll get there.
I do. Does anybody else have that problem where, I imagine a bunch of people using a bunch of different distros are like, oh, wait, what was the command for that? I did the wrong command.
I started using Debian in 2002, 2003. This is why I've always used Debian-based distros up until this point, is because then it's just always apt-get install whatever you want.
Right? So it sounds like a weird thing, but it was one of those things where I was like, I am liking Bazzite, but there's certain little things that I'm just not used to. So yeah, I decided not to go with Bazzite. I loaded Fedora and
but it's the same thing. Fedora and Bazzite, same. Bazzite's based on Fedora Blue.
Well, and so that's why I think ultimately I'm probably going to still settle with Ubuntu.
I mean, but you're 2 months into this journey. You can go
with
whatever you want.
I know.
You could get into Manjaro if you wanted. Get crazy.
No.
Anyway,
so
is there not a Flatpak for 1Password? I guess there isn't because of the way the encryption stuff works.
There is not. Yeah. So and then the refined thing also scared me. So I went over to the refined website.
Yeah, it's at rodbooks.com. Perfectly good.
Yeah.
Look, Roderick W. Smith has been running this for a long time. It started as a boot manager for OS 10 for Macs that were dual booting Linux. Basically, that's where Refined started. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
That's why it looks nice. That's why it's pretty. And 1Password is on FlatHub, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Wait. No, this is a thread that says, hey, it would be really nice to have 1Password on FlatHub.
Yeah. No, I didn't think it was. So anyway, I went to go. I was like, okay, you keep telling me about Refine. I've been using Grub.
Mm-hmm. But Grub's fine.
But it's fine. But it also presents, at least on most of the laptops I've used, as really tiny text, and it's kind of hard to...
If you have a high DPI monitor especially, it's kind of gnarly because it's designed for a 640 by 480 terminal window.
Yeah.
And when you put it on a 3000 by 1200, 3000 by 1600 display, you have to know what you're clicking. Or I have to take my glasses off and rest my eyeballs on the screen.
Yeah. So I went over there. Really good documentation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've messed around on his site, but but this feels like what I would expect to be nice.
I'll be honest.
Linux user documentation.
I think it's actually better than that. His documentation for how the UEFI boot chain works, and how the UEFI / what we always call the BIOS knows, scans the drives, looks for a folder that is / an EFI bootable partition, and then pulls bootloader images from that, and how all that works. He's documented that better than any place I've ever seen before. So it's funny, my co-host on the Tech Pod, Brad Shoemaker, has said this before, and I didn't believe him. And then I went and read the documentation. I was like, oh, I get this now. This is how I learned how to secure boot my Windows machine so I can play Battlefield 6 in Windows and use Linux without having to turn off secure boot every time I want to reboot into Linux. So anyway, shout outs to Rod. He's good.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should reach out to him, get him on the podcast.
I mean, I'm always down to have new people on the podcast.
So anyway, like I was thumbing through it and I was just like, man, I don't know. Anyway, it Bazzite,
you got there.
Yeah, I got there, but it felt less, like felt more work.
I got to tell you,
needed to be, if that makes sense.
I got to tell you,
yeah,
we looked at your partitions in the Disks app on that Framework laptop.
Yeah.
And I think I counted 4 EFI boot partitions on there.
Two on the internal drive and then one on the external. Two on the external drive.
Yeah. That feels like too many to me because they were mounted at /boot and /boot/EFI, which to me feels really strange and like something's probably not right. But also it seems to be working.
Yeah. So the external card, we'll talk about it in a second. But yes, so far, I mean, like I really do think though, at this point, like I'm not seeing anything about Fedora that I'm like just loving more than Ubuntu. So I think I am just gonna. I need
stick with Ubuntu.
I just need to do that. So
okay.
I'd wipe everything. Sorry about that. I hit the microphone. I'll wipe everything, put it in, just be done with it, and continue on. Also,
yes,
because of this. Once again, like I said, I'm trying to use this laptop as an experience to say, hey, no Windows. If I need to use Windows, I'm going to have to do something else. And through the course of that, I don't remember who mentioned this to me. Thank you. Shout out to whoever did. But somebody was like, why don't you just use Excel in Microsoft Edge? And I was like, wait, you can get Edge on.
Oh, this is why you started edging again.
Yeah. So I actually have installed Edge on this device, and I signed into my Outlook or for use with work, and using the Excel web interface in Edge on Linux actually gets me pretty damn close to what I need.
I don't think you can I don't think you can get the images.
That's okay.
Of the charts that you need.
Oh, you mean like
I don't think you can get them the pretty kind of.
Well, but so in my templates I already have them built. Like so
maybe you can just copy and paste.
Yeah. The charts are already in. Like all
okay.
I do,
okay.
yeah. So
then
I
you
think
save it as an image.
As long as I could save it as an image, which it looks like you actually can't save it as an image.
You'll have to screenshot it.
Okay. So
anyway,
yeah. So but once again, I'm trying to. We'll
just build a like 9800X 3D 5090 machine that you can use to take screenshots of your Excel spreadsheets. It's perfect. It's a PCWorld solution.
Yeah. So I'm trying.
This is good.
I'm trying to divorce myself. I know it means using Microsoft Edge, but it's an option.
You can also use Chromium or Chrome. Chrome.
Well, so I use Chrome normally, but I'm signed into personal accounts there, so I'm
gotcha.
trying not to have them.
You can use container folders.
Oh, I guess I could.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that, and then also I went back to the Framework desktop.
You've been really busy this week.
I really have. And we've been having problems with the Framework desktop over there. I nuked the Windows drive. Mm-hmm. I just installed Ubuntu.
Okay. The supported version? Yeah,
the 25.10.
Okay.
I think the newer one, and that's what Framework recommends. And then I installed Refind.
Okay.
And then I went back, and because I had Refind both on the laptop and on the desktop, I have that Fedora install, and I was able to get both of them to see it. And then on the laptop, I've been able to use it off of the drive. So success, I have figured it out, a way to say, hey, I could if I wanted to dual boot, or just take around this drive and have the laptop here, have the desktop at home, plug it in. I think the bigger downside, and I need to test this, is that drive does get real hot.
Yeah, it doesn't have any kind of cooling on it.
Yeah, when I'm booting off of it, like.
It's warm.
It's a little warm, so it's probably not good.
It's probably fine.
Probably fine. So maybe that's the other reason why officially from Framework they're like, yeah, you probably don't want to do that.
Don't do that, man.
I don't know. Will I actually do it? I don't know.
It's impossible to say.
But I did have a little bit of a problem getting Refine to see the card on the Framework desktop. So I have a step-by-step process here. I installed Ubuntu on the solitary NVMe.
Okay.
That's in there. There's just one drive. It took up the whole drive.
Yeah.
Didn't dual boot anything. I installed Refind in Ubuntu.
Was this on the desktop?
This is on the desktop, yeah.
Okay.
I inserted the card and it wasn't showing up on Refind. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. I booted into Ventoy and reinstalled Fedora on the external card just to make sure that everything
That's probably how you got that. Yeah.
Was fine. I rebooted and Refind still. I rebooted and then Refind wasn't there anymore.
That's because it changed the boot order.
Yeah. So then, I double checked. I went back into Ubuntu just to make sure Refind was like there, and it was fine. And then sure enough, and we saw that today when we came into the office.
When you install something new, often I found this Dell XPS laptop does that too. It puts the newest thing at the top of the boot order because it doesn't like. Fundamentally, the UEFI firmwares don't seem to be built for people who are like installing multiple booting OSs on the same machine.
Yeah. So, I mean, and once again, this is probably a me problem as I'm doing all this stuff, but I got it to work.
You're there.
I got it to work.
And you can plug the USB card in and it'll boot now.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. On both of them, on both devices. I haven't done anything with that install. I'm not actively trying to use it, but I got it to work.
So the thing that was interesting on the laptop is it was seeing the boot partition on the USB drive now, which we hadn't been able to get it to do before. So I don't know if it's something about the Fedora boot partition versus the Ubuntu and the Cache ones that I tried last week. But it was seeing that boot partition. I don't know why. It's weird. Anyway, it's all good. That's awesome.
So I got that. The last part, I just got the notification on this Fedora install on my laptop that Fedora 43 is available.
It's one better than 42 and not as good as 44.
And I realized that this is the first time I was like, ooh, cool, a new release. I'm going to go read the release notes. And I got a little excited for release notes. And then also...
you should feel dread about that. That's not a thing to be excited about. Yeah, because it's rife with peril.
Oh, okay.
You're out there, you're going to hit the button to update, and it's going to be like, okay, cool. And then you're going to boot to a command line. You're going to be like, oh, God, here we go again.
Well, that was the other thing, too. I realized I have not, in this whole process so far, I have not upgraded anything that I can remember.
Not done an update at all?
Not a point update, like a big,
that's
like Fedora, and who knows, maybe I'm wrong, maybe Fedora 42 to 43 is not a big update, but like on Ubuntu so far, I've mostly been sticking with that 24, the LTS version.
No, 2404.
So like I haven't done like a big upgrade.
This is your baby's first upgrade?
Actually, no, that's not true. When I got the Lenovo laptop in, they shipped it to me. I'm sorry, they shipped it with 22.
Oh,
and I manually updated 24. Okay, never mind.
It's all lies.
So I just
you've been busy. You've been edging. You've been fixing the you've been frameworking.
But listen. Yeah, I think I'm ready to just pull the trigger and just say, hey, I'm going to stick with Ubuntu. A lot like I do like Fedora. I know a lot of people out there like Fedora.
Hey,
people kept talking about it. You know,
some people like vanilla ice cream. It's fine. We're not judging.
Yeah, and also it feels weird to say that I'm getting hung up on the fact that in the command line I just want to put apt.
No, that's fine. It's a preference.
But,
This is why it's stupid to argue about this stuff on the internet, right? Is because it's just your preference. I'm not going to judge you just because you like the most boring stuff imaginable.
Wow.
I'm gonna support you in your choices. Be like, hey, that's good for you. I'm glad that this is the thing you like.
Wow.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Also, earlier this week, we did post the special edition episode with my friend Mike, who is a certified ethical hacker.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've listened to that episode yet, but there was a lot of comments.
Really? Mikey had some hot takes, I assume. Mikey always has hot takes.
It was a good time, though.
Okay.
A lot of good stuff. Got some good conversations going
Did it get
about
heated?
Security. There's some comments, yeah.
I just keep seeing videos of you and him with him like lounging on a bed, finding USB ports and stuff.
That's because we're TikTok stars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's separate from the podcast.
Should I? Do you want to talk?
What have you been up to? Have you been up to anything?
I mean, not quite as much as you, it seems. Maybe I'll take that ROG Ally X and put Bazzite on that and see if it makes it good again.
We already know the answer.
I fixed my Bluetooth problem from last week. I talked about this a little bit. I wasn't able to get my the laptop wasn't seeing Bluetooth at all. It wasn't seeing a Bluetooth radio. No.
Okay.
And I realized that the problem was that in the I had updated the UEFI on this laptop on this Dell XPS 2024 Lunar Lake Edition, and it had when I updated the BIOS, it reset to default settings, and one of those settings was allow Bluetooth devices in the UEFI. Now, I think what happens when you boot into Windows is at some point Windows says, hey, UEFI, give me back that Bluetooth radio, and it does. And I don't think that the Linux kernel was doing that or something. It wasn't happening at some point because the Bluetooth radio is basically locked out by the UEFI. And as soon as I flipped that switch off, the laptop saw Bluetooth again and everything was cool.
Yeah, I used to run into that when I was dual booting Bazzite on that Ally X. Yeah, like anytime I would have to go into Windows for whatever reason, every once in a while I would go back to Bazzite and either like the Wi-Fi wasn't working or the controllers weren't working, and then I was like, oh well, I got to go back to Windows.
Flip that switch.
Yeah, turn all that stuff off. So that's interesting.
Well, so that was a UEFI switch, not a Windows switch for what it's worth on this one.
Well, so for me, I got around it by turning them off in Windows.
Oh, okay.
And then it let them go, I guess, or something.
Weird.
I don't know. Yeah.
Sometimes fast boot will fix that stuff too. So generally, if you're dual booting, you want to turn off fast boot, both in Windows and in the UEFI. So that was an easy one. I figured out how to get Neri locking properly, or I guess technically it's Natalia shell. But I wrote a little short script that runs a lock command and follows it with a suspend command that triggers when it detects the lid switch close. So basically,
which is based off of magnets, or is it an actual like physical switch?
There's a switch in the laptop.
Really?
I don't know how.
Okay.
I mean, it could be a Hall effect switch. I actually I could find out by running magnets around the edge of the laptop sensor. But once the lid gets almost closed, it triggers that lid close switch notification, which is a standard call. And Noctalia has a trigger for it called, I think, lid close, which I put in the Neri config file, and then I triggered it to trigger my little bash script. And all the bash script does is do the QS-C Noctalia shell, which basically says do this IPC call for lock screen lock, which then shuts down replaces what's on the screen with the lock screen, which is the Noctalia shell lock screen. And then the next line is system control, system CTL space suspend, and that puts the machine to sleep.
So you manually are...
I'm telling it when to suspend because it wasn't doing that itself. That's something that apparently KDE and GNOME handle out of the box. And with Neri, this is, I think, probably why Neri's still in beta, if I had to guess.
Oh, okay.
Remember when I said Linux beta is different than Windows beta?
This is beta.
This is what I'm talking about.
Well, that's crazy.
It's wild.
So you just edited a config file. How did you Google this? Did you say, hey, how do you...
I went in the Noctalia Shell Discord and I started talking to people. And it was real good. It was real good.
Was it a good vibe over there?
It was. People were super friendly. They were like, "Hey, you're really good at explaining this stuff. Do you want to write documentation?" I was like, "I would love to do that if I had more time."
Yeah, right. Always be documenting.
I mean, look, I love to document, but I don't think I want to. I don't know. Maybe I have more time, but
my excuse is that this podcast is a document, right?
It doesn't count.
Oh, dang it! Nobody could search this podcast.
Nobody can search the podcast.
Dang it! Maybe we just release the transcripts of the podcast.
We could do that. I think that already happens on Apple Podcasts. Actually,
really?
It's right there.
See, we're doing it.
Yeah, look at us.
Yeah, we're documenting.
Valuable members of the community. So yeah, that works great. I still don't have the fingerprints. So I got the fingerprint sensor working on login. By adding a pam.d rule in etc/pam.d for SDDM, the display manager. It doesn't work with GrossHack, the thing that says, hey, you can do the password or the fingerprint at the same time. We talked about this a couple weeks ago.
So gross.
But I have to hit enter and fail the login, and then I just tap the thing and it just logs in without prompting me, which is fine. I know to do that. It's whatever. It doesn't matter. But I haven't been able to get it working with the lock screen, even when I add that Noctalia shell command to pam.d. So I got to figure that out. And I might have to talk to the Noctalia folks again. Let's see. I got Snapper. Snapper is now working with Refind.
Yeah, because you were talking, you hadn't fully set it up correctly or in the way that you thought you should.
So I got notes. Thank you all for writing in.
Notes.
If you use the default boot manager Grub 2, then this happens automatically when you click that install Snapper support.
Got it.
But because I wanted to be a fancy pants and have the graphical one that looks all nice.
Yeah, why do you? I've been meaning to ask, like, why do you like Refind specifically? Because there are other options out there, right?
Yeah,
no. I mean, I understand that, but like I thought there are other graphical ones.
I can get themes.
Yeah,
it has themes.
Oh, okay, that's
go look up themes for Refind. They're fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice to have something fancy.
Okay, all right. No.
Because Linux is all about choice.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't know if you're like saying you like that one specifically for specific reasons over other ones, but there are other graphical ones out there, right?
So when I looked at hey, which one of these should you choose? The guide was like, if you're using UEFI, this one or this one are the choices. And it was like, and one of them, I think Limine had an enormous configuration process. And Refine was like, hey, 90% of the time it just works.
Okay.
And I was like, boom, that sounds great.
I like that too.
Yeah. That was the entirety of the thought process.
Perfect.
And then it worked, and so I haven't had to fool with it. But the irony is, in order to get Snapper support working, I had to manually write the config entry for my boot, for my Linux boot installer, so that the tool that gets ButterFS image support into Refined knows what it's looking at. So the benefit of using Refined immediately went away because I had to figure out how to do all the UUIDs and all this crazy stuff.
Well, also, I just realized, though, you're not dual booting on this laptop. So what's the point of Refined?
Look, man.
You could just boot straight into it, right?
Look, we got to – sometimes you ask questions that we don't have answers to.
Okay.
Sometimes you just make a stupid choice when you press the button and here you are.
Well, because I was thinking that too. I was like, okay, I have Fedora and Ubuntu on here.
Use the default.
Yeah, if I'm just going to go with one, then why would I need Refine?
If you're nuking it, just use the default. That's the lesson.
Okay, perfect.
But anyway, so I got it working. I spent a lot of time on Rod's books looking at the documentation for the refine.conf file. And then I learned a lot about how to tell what the UUIDs and all that stuff are for the different partitions on the hard drives.
Okay.
And I took about 4 stabs at it before I got it right. But I got a refine.conf that worked right. Luckily, the auto-generated one continued to work during this whole process. So, like, I had my good one over here on the left, and then I had the one that was always busted on the right. And then I got, like, honestly, the stupidest part of this is I figured out the pathing because the pathing wasn't super well described in the files because it's unclear whether the reference that you use in the refine conf, because you have to reference where, like, the boot image and the bootloader and all that stuff are in your boot partition or your EFI system partition. Mm-hmm. You look very confused right now.
Okay. Well, because I'm having a hard time grounding with it.
Okay, so here
I haven't had to deal with it.
Here's the way this works. The UEFI looks for an EFI system partition, which is a specific flavor of partition, and it has to be something in a format that it understands. So it can be ext4, it can be FAT or VFAT, it can be. I don't think it can be NTFS. It can't be ButterFS by default, stuff like that.
And this is regardless of Linux,
regardless
Windows.
of OS.
Yeah.
And then it looks for a file with a .img on it, and that's the image that it boots, that it knows, I can boot this.
Oh, okay.
Just like your Ventoy has .img files.
Okay.
So like typically the Linux one is like VM linez dash and then some identifiers that tell you which distro and which version of the kernel and all that stuff are. Mm-hmm. Like the Windows one is boot EFI x64, I think, by default.
Okay.
.img. And so it looks for those things in that partition, and it just hits the first one that it finds, or the one that you identify in the BIOS, right? What Refine does is gives a different. It basically has its own image that it boots, and then it says, "Oh, okay. There are also these other images on this system. Do you want to boot this one, or do you want to boot this one, or do you want to boot this one, or boot this one?" Just like Ventoy does for image files on your USB thumb drive.
Oh, I guess I didn't realize that Refined was like an image. Like it's almost like you're booting into.
It's just a software format for EFI things that it's special software that the UEFI can boot.
Which is why then it's a list in the.
That's why it's a list.
Okay. Got it.
So, but when it does it automatically, it just looks at all the places that are on UEFI bootable partitions that it hasn't been told explicitly to ignore. And then it says, okay, do you want to boot this one, this one, this one, this one, or this one? And it has some rules that, like, if it has Debian in it, it puts the Debian logo up. And if it has Ubuntu in it, it puts the Ubuntu logo. And Windows for the Windows. Anyway.
So why did Snapper not work with this?
Well, so Snapper doesn't work with this because it doesn't know the snap config script for cache only knows about grub.
Oh. So this is a cache thing.
Basically, well, no, it's the cache script that enables Snapper support. Basically, what you have to do is generate your conf file, and then this other script called, I think, refine-butterfs looks at that file and says, okay, I'm going to add another entry to the side that lets you choose between the last like 5 or 10 snapper images to boot from. And when you select that, then it goes in. Now, much after the fact, someone was like, hey, you can also just boot, you can also boot into the machine at the terminal and then type the snapper command to just switch back to a certain image.
Oh.
And you don't have to do any of this boot manager stuff. But the boot manager stuff is really easy
and it's GUI
convenient.
based.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, again, this just would have worked out of the box if I hadn't been a dip and installed and used Grub 2. But I have icons that are themed for my laptop, and it's a nice black screen, so the OLED looks good. And it makes me feel fancy, okay, Adam?
Well, so how many snapshots do you have at one time?
It cleans up after every couple of days.
Okay.
Right now, I think I have 5 listed in the menu, which is basically like 2 system updates because it's a before and after.
Oh, okay.
And then there's one more after.
Oh, okay.
I know how to change that in the refine conf file to add more, or the Btrfs in the refine-btrfs conf file to add more if I want.
So at this point, have you had to roll back?
No, but I tested it.
Oh, you tested it.
I tested it.
And?
Thumbs up.
Oh, okay. How did you test it? Like, did you write something
I did an
before an update?
No, I did a pretty big update.
Okay.
Throw the dice. That's what I say. I'll always be testing.
Always be rolling.
Yeah. And then I was like, well, what if I didn't want to do this update? And I booted into the not updated one. Mm-hmm. And then I ran the update again, and it worked. And then the next one was I just booted like normal the next time.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. Now you're safe.
Now I'm safe. Now I can look. I got updates right now.
Dude,
you want me to do an update?
We get update live. There we go.
I got 21 updates available.
Luckily, I'm recording the audio. You're not.
Yeah, that is probably important. Look, I'm updating now. You can't stop me.
Wow.
You're not my dad.
This is crazy.
Okay. Now the last thing. There's other stuff.
Real quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
So you just manually toggled that update from something in the.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually going to run from the bar. Though.
Oh, okay.
It looks like it's near. I don't usually do it this way.
So but it'll grab the snapshot no matter where you're updating from. Like it knows, you're trying to run updates no matter how you're triggering them.
Yeah, it's based on a Pac-Man hook. Pac-Man and Paru hooks.
Oh, okay. As long as that.
Yeah. So look, I'm running the update right now. It did
from the terminal.
It's downloading them, yeah. And performing snapper pre-snapshots for the following configurations.
Oh,
and it gives me number 154, so I can refer back to that one, and that'll take me back to the before update.
Wait, so you've done 154 of these? Is it sequential?
It's done 154 snapshots since I installed it.
Wow, that's
from
kind
updating
of fun.
Different stuff and running Paru and all that. And then every few days, there's an automatic process that kind of clears through a bunch of the old ones. So
but the numbering probably is sequential, right?
The number will continue being sequential.
Man,
yeah.
I would like.
In a few years, there'll be a lot.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. It's so I got that going for me. That's working now. I feel good about it.
All right.
I'm installing.
Don't reboot right now.
No, I'm not going to. Oh, unsafe permissions. Oh, that's probably fine.
That's
anyway, last thing is the webcam. I think I maybe reached an impasse on the webcam.
Yeah. You've talked a lot about this off air.
The webcam. So I followed the guide on the Arch Wiki. There's 2 paths. Both of them required me to do things that I wasn't entirely comfortable doing. So one of them wanted me to
morally or
just I was afraid I was going to jack stuff up. One of them wanted me to update to grab the Linux OEM kernel from a different distro and use that here, which seemed like a bad idea.
Like that, would you have to recompile it at that point?
Yeah.
Oh, recompiling kernels. That's another season.
I feel like that's season 2 for sure. The other one was like, hey, I asked ChatGPT how to do this, and it generated the script, and it worked for me. And then
so you didn't ask ChatGPT.
I did not. Somebody else
okay.
and then posted this to the wiki.
Said that,
it's kind of low effort posting.
Okay,
yeah. So they did it, and I looked at the script, and it got midway down, and it was like, okay, now it downloads this from here, and I downloaded that script to see what was in that, and that look. I'm not going to judge based on geography or anything like that, but it wanted to download a whole bunch of stuff from like a Chinese university site. And I was just like, what would Mikey say in this situation? And I saw him look at the camera. He went hard pass. And I was like,
hard no.
Hard no. I'm not going to, I didn't install I didn't install the Chinese kernel patches.
Okay. But just to get your webcam working.
Just to get my webcam working. I didn't want to end up on a list, okay?
And have you run into issues like so far where you're like, oh crap, I can't use my webcam?
Yeah, I do meetings and stuff. I have a call at 4:00 today that would be really nice to be able to do here.
Okay.
And I'll have to plug in an external webcam
we did look at those. We did plug in a couple of Elgato webcams.
No problem.
That worked out of the box.
Yeah, perfect. Just plugged it in. So the problem is it's called an IPU7 webcam on this thing. And it's an Intel module that I think hooks into PCI Express probably instead of USB.
Okay.
And there's two parts to it. One is the camera part, which is just a normal camera. The other part is this thing that can turn off all of the camera hardware using, I think, what's called an I2C bus, which is like a low power, low voltage serial bus. They show up on like Raspberry Pis and stuff like that. And basically, that whole thing exists just to turn the camera on and off so that it's not using power when you're not using it.
Which some people will be like, what? That seems overkill. But like especially on laptop.
On a laptop, it makes a difference. Yeah.
Like everybody in the laptop ecosystems, from the processor to the device maker, Windows, all that stuff, they are trying to minimize power usage for battery life.
And it turns out the best way to minimize power usage is just to turn the power off to the thing entirely.
Yeah.
So the camera software I have installed and is working fine. The software to turn the camera on and off seems to be non-existent. So we're like the community has been kind of complaining about this. There's a bunch of threads on different distro forums about it, specifically for this laptop. And there's a couple other models. There's like an MSI model. There's a handful of other Lunar Lake laptops that don't work out of the box. Now, this machine has a supported Ubuntu version, supposedly,
really?
That I haven't actually tried it. That's where the Linux OEM. That's where the OEM kernel comes from.
Okay.
But I'm not confident enough in my abilities to switch to that Linux OEM kernel from Ubuntu that's not going to completely screw me up on a bunch of other stuff because I'm running caching and it's compiling a bunch of stuff against the actual processor. And anyway, I think it's probably more likely that I'll just either switch to a different laptop that we have in the office or carry a plug-in webcam with me.
Well, or could you run a VM? could you run,
and just pass that device through probably.
Yeah,
I'd have to try.
maybe just run.
That seems
Zoom
really stupid.
in a VM.
Profoundly stupid, Adam.
I don't know. I was trying to think like what would Wendell do? I don't know. Yeah,
I mean,
or you just you.
Yeah, the other thing I could do is get one of the virtual camera things that I just put on my phone and set it up next to me and call it a day.
You take the meeting on a phone. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyway,
But this isn't just a Dell issue.
This
is just an Intel issue.
It seems like a problem with almost every laptop that's using this IPU7 camera package. So the IPU6 version, which is the last gen one, works fine on Linux. There's drivers for it. The problem, like I said, and I can dig up the forum threads for it if people are interested. But the problem is that nobody's gone through and reverse engineered the communication and the driver for the thing that turns the camera on and off on demand.
When did this IP7 thing?
Well, Lunar Lake launched like 18 months ago.
So it's tied to Lunar Lake.
It's tied to Lunar Lake.
Oh man, but that feels like that's enough time to get that committed to the kernel, right?
I think it's up to the vendors which ones are, because the thing is they're all going to have different IDs, and so I probably could go in and figure out which it is and just change the file for the driver to say, oh yeah, support this one that Dell used in addition to the one that Asus used on the other Lunar Lake laptop that worked fine.
Yeah.
Assuming I don't know if that Lunar Lake, the Asus one had the IPU7 camera. I'll have to go look, but like it seems like this shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, and problem I decided I'm going to stop spending time spinning wheels on it because I'm sure the moment I jump through a bunch of hoops and do a bunch of nonsense to get this to work is the day that they're going to like do an update and it'll just start working out of the box.
I mean, and you're rolling,
I'm rolling, baby.
Yeah, so it could just roll in at any moment.
See me rolling?
There's rolling. So I do want to go back to a question that somebody had put in that we didn't get to last week, but you touched on a little bit. D&D Chemist asked, when you come across a problem that you don't know how to fix, do you use AI to help you with the problem, and how much do you trust your copying pasting into the terminal window?
I don't generally use AI for much of anything.
Okay. But what about, so you found that one guy who did use AI.
Yeah. So for folks who don't know, most of the distros, there's like a either user or distro owned wiki for laptop models where they have like a page for each laptop. So like Arch has a wiki with a bazillion different laptop models, and they list like, here's what works, here's what kind of works, here's what doesn't work.
Are they the ones testing that?
No, it's all user. It's all user content.
Okay.
So like the person who figured out the webcam, the ChatGPT thing worked, and they even left a note that was like, "Yo, if this doesn't work, don't complain to me because this is what ChatGPT said." Here's a link to the conversation I had with ChatGPT, so you could go back into that.
I will say, it seems like Ubuntu has a list. And they're doing the testing, but that's also because they're a huge team.
They're huge. So, they also work directly with vendors a lot.
Yeah.
I think the other stuff, like other distros, it's going to be up and down. A lot of the Arch-based distros refer back to that Arch. Like Cashy obviously doesn't have this. They refer back to the Arch distro when you have a problem with specific hardware because it makes sense.
But it would make sense.
Yeah,
because it's
a refinement of the downstream of the other thing.
So I actually I haven't asked ChatGPT to do anything. The closest that I've gotten to is when I Googled an issue, like I would Ubuntu, this is not working something. The search results in Google, the AI search results, every once in a while will have like, oh, you just run this command, then this command, this command. Like for the most part, if it's a command that I'm not going to say I know the command, but if it's like, oh, it's telling me sudo apt install
some
one password.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, that seems like a real command. I've done that before.
Okay.
And if it's something that has like flags on it or that I'm just like, I don't know what those flags do, I'll hit the link out where it's
shows you where the source was.
Where the source was, and then make a decision based off of that. So like, I guess in those situations, I've felt okay to do it. But once again, I'm not doing anything wild and crazy like you are. So
yeah, I don't. I find on the things that I use it for that I understand and know, the answers are so all over the place that I just generally like the downside of me using a command that the machine gave me that's bad and messes something up is pretty high. And I think about all the times on Linux forums that somebody's like, oh yeah, the way you solve that problem is by typing rm space dash rf space slash asterisk. And I'm like if I just run some script that the machine gives me, what's the chance of it messing something up that I'm going to have to just completely either roll back to a previous snapshot, minor inconvenience, or nuke the drive and start over, major inconvenience. I don't want either of those things to happen. So.
I actually, now that I think about it, I guess the other place I do it is that if I'm trying to learn or know what a terminal command is, because I am trying to use the terminal more, and I'm just like, okay, well, I don't know what this command is. And so, like, what's the command for installing something? I keep using the install just because whatever. But it's like, oh, it's apt.
You need
You
need TLDR, which is
what is this?
TLDR is TLDR.
Oh,
TLDR is a command you can install. That TLDR TLDR is a command that basically gives you a shortened version of man pages and stuff like that. So if you look at like the man page for apt, which is going to be like 17 pages long and have a bazillion things you don't need. Yeah, but it's going to be really long and it's going to be super in depth and really comprehensive and way more information than you need for like 99.9% of what you do with apt, right?
Okay, yeah.
The TLDR, if you type TLDR, if you have to install it probably first, but the package is TEALDEER, so it's a clever pun, as often happens.
Yeah.
And that will give you a TLDR version of that man page. So it's like, hey, here's how you update, here's how you skip, here's how you ignore dependencies, here's how you remove software. And that'll be the only three things that it has.
Oh, okay. Well, because
somebody recommended it to me from the Discord months ago. So awesome. Shout outs.
So, I mean, I guess what I usually do at first is it put -H just
that
to
helps.
get help.
Yeah.
But that's not a man page.
Sometimes, well, no, that's the inline help. The man page is going to be comprehensive.
Oh, I don't know if I've ever looked at a man page, even though we've joked around about it before. So yeah. So usually it's -H to be like, okay, well, what are the list of options that I have right now?
So I opened up the Pac-Man man page just for an example.
Which was what was the
Pac-Man's
command?
the man space Pac-Man. So it's just man space the command name.
Oh. Okay.
And it's just giving page after page after page after page after page.
Wait, this isn't
flags,
and this isn't going by graphically fast. I thought you were going to install that.
This is
terminal window.
I was paging one page at a time for you. I wasn't scrolling nuclear fast. Alacrity is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's the default on Cache. So yeah, like it just explains everything that you could possibly ever need to know, and then you get to the end.
But the thing you mentioned is like the man pages, like the most used man pages.
It's the distilled, like what's the thing you need most. So here's the.
Oh wow! Okay.
And it just gives you, hey, synchronize and update all packages. Sudo pacman -SYU. Install a new package. Sudo pacman -S space package name, right? And it's like, it gives you the things that are like the most commonly used flags for that tool, basically.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is incredibly
How do they
useful.
find out what the most useful things are?
I think that some human just makes the decision that these are the things that matter.
Huh.
Yeah. But it's possible, like you also agree to sending them like a little tiny bit of tracking data, and it could be that they use that for that as well. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like it's usually about packages you download is the place that you're offering to give them data when they ask.
Oh, like
usually when you set up your package manager, it's like, hey, do you mind if Debian uses this or Ubuntu uses this to collect information that they might use to improve the product?
And it seems like you're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Okay.
They're not. I mean, it's Linux people. What are they going to do?
What are they going to do? Yeah. What are they going to do? Come at me.
So last thing, we got to wrap it up here quickly. But I've been playing games on this laptop, which I know I said a couple weeks ago I never do. But I was curious, and like Lunar Lake, fairly capable little machine for like low res games.
1080p.
1080p, great. It works pretty well. I'm pleasantly surprised. I was curious to see how it worked on Neri specifically, because it's the tiling horizontal scrolling window manager. But it turns out you hit the Windows key and F, it makes it go full screen.
Oh, okay.
And then it works just like a normal game.
Yeah. And it's full screen. It's
full screen.
Yeah, okay.
I can show you. Here's a Buggos 2 screen.
So are you having to mess around with which version of?
Nope.
No.
Just launches.
You're installing it from Steam and launching. You're not.
Yep.
Okay.
Seems like it's fine.
Huh.
It does do the Vulkan shader caching every time, which I think you can probably safely skip.
Oh, like it doesn't save it locally?
It's unclear to me what's happening there.
Huh. That is weird.
I think that's so. Okay, so it launches in a window, and then you press Windows F, and the game will go full screen, and it's just like a normal game. But you can still swipe.
So it's
to
not
scroll.
exclusive full screen.
It is when you're in here, because I
okay.
can't move my mouse to the edge of the screen.
It is. Oh yeah.
But if I do a 3-finger swipe or a 2-finger swipe, then I can go to the edge of the screen. It's super weird.
Yeah.
It does a really nice job of sleeping the game when you're away. So like if you scroll off, it seems like it's sleeping, and my power usage.
Bring up BTOP. Oh, you don't have it installed.
I don't think I. No, I do. So there's my BTOP, and yeah. It's Buggos is using 6.3% of CPU right now. So,
okay. Yeah.
And I've tried a couple of different games, different weights. This actually works much better for me than the KDE. We don't know where this window is going to launch. It could be on the top monitor, it could be on the bottom monitor.
Because it gives you the power.
It gives me the power. I have control.
Control.
I can make my choices.
I like it.
Ben BTOP tells me how much video memory I have. That's really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Busy.
Not as much as you, but it has been a week or two.
I want to get to where you're at, though. I'm sitting with one distro, and I'm doing things. I'm doing things.
The thing I'll say is getting Bluetooth working again, getting games up and running, like all the apps that I use on the day to day, other than the video editor, which I don't really use all that often, are getting close. I started downloading some DAWs last week. I downloaded Bitwig Studio, which has a native Linux version and was in the Cache AUR. Downloaded a couple other things. I haven't had time to spend with them yet, but I feel like I'm making some progress toward becoming a computer that I can use. Nice. Now, the webcam thing, kind of an annoyance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, speaking of DAW, I am recording this episode, the audio from this episode, in Fedora in Audacity.
Yep.
With a Motu M6. ADC.
Turns out USB device is pretty good in Linux.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I guess we'll see on the playback. Cool. Anything else?
That's
it.
On
your list, or?
I updated some gamepads. I updated the firmware on an 8-bit DO controller.
8-bit DO.
I feel like every time I say that, you say it the other way. Are you messing with me?
DO.
On an 8-bit DO controller, using the Linux tool for FW Update Manager. And I think it worked. I was actually doing it when we came in here to record, so I'll go back and test it out in a little bit. I'll let you know next week, I guess.
Sweet.
And then the last scary thing for homework next time. Well, I wrote down I'm going to try EXVM, and I think I'm probably not once I found out it's Emacs. Sorry, listener. But I got the 25H2 install notification the other day on my Windows machine at home.
Because you're still dual booting on your
I'm still
desktop.
dual booting on my desktop at home.
And you'll need it.
Do I?
25H2? Yeah, why not?
It seems bad.
Always be updating.
But I'm curious to see if my 2 boot partitions survive this, or if it overwrites my refined partition, I have to reinstall it again.
Wait, you have it on the same drive? That system has so many slots for drives.
Yeah, but I have one fast drive and then I have slow drives. The last thing is...
It'll be good content, though.
It will be good content. I mean, look, always for the content.
Yeah.
The last thing is I've been looking at the stuff that I use on my streaming machine.
Because you have a desktop set of
two desktop streaming, and it's also nice because I can capture, like it lets me capture like BIOSes and stuff like that if I want to do that. And I think I can probably move that machine to Linux. I don't think there's anything holding me back from that because the bot that runs Discord, OBS, the software that controls my audio mixer. I think actually the Stream Deck interface stuff will be a little bit better because I can just run the BitFocus Companion client on that side and then have both Stream Decks. Because right now I have a Stream Deck plugged into the streaming machine and one plugged into my desktop. But then that streaming machine one is just off. Like most of the time when I'm sitting in my office, it feels like a real waste. I think I can plug both of those into my desktop and have buttons that connect to the remote one with BitFocus Companion, which you can't do with the Stream Deck software. So anyway, that's the next step.
Okay. Yeah. Homework for me, I mean, once again, I think it's official. I'm saying it right here.
You said this like 3 weeks ago, too.
I know. Yeah.
You're getting married to Ubuntu finally?
Finally, yeah. I keep dabbling. People have recommended good stuff.
Maybe it's sweet cream ice cream. Maybe it's not vanilla ice cream. Maybe it's even more bland.
No, it's what's that? It's got like chunks of vanilla in it.
Flavor base?
No, I can't think of it. No, vanilla. Like I don't know. It doesn't. Who knows? Yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Think it matters.
It doesn't matter.
But I'm glad you're committing to something.
Well, because also like I've been looking at my I've been looking at the machine that I have hooked up to my TV right now.
Yeah, that's a
running
candidate.
Windows, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
how often do I need to run a game on there that needs Windows? Also, that motherboard has support for 2 devices, so I could dual boot there.
That.
I know, but like, man, that would be the dream, is to have a living room gaming PC that I can just control easily.
This update is still going, by the way.
That's a lot of update.
I think I might have made a mistake.
Yep, good job.
I should have read those docs before I hit this button.
Snapper. Maybe we'll have content for next week.
Yeah,
exactly. Hey, do you remember that update I installed while I was
new
filming?
laptop?
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up
this
here.
Feels like a long one. I don't know how long we've been going.
We have been going for 1 hour.
Oh,
yeah, that's it.
It's a long one.
That's normal, you know.
Yeah. So next week homework. I guess I'm going to install 25H2 on the main machine.
Yeah.
You're going to install Ubuntu and commit.
Commit. Yeah.
Yeah. You should wipe those drives.
Yeah.
Because you got some weird business happening here.
Well, because now that I know I can get the external drive, I want to put Windows on the external drive and have the internal drive.
Yeah, make it, you know, and then
I'll make it hard.
Getting hot when you use it's going to make you think about it. It's going to put a little, if you want some Windows, you got to take a little pain.
Yeah.
Just burn your lap a little bit.
Yeah. So, but I really do want to just be like, okay, let's get past this.
Yeah.
It's been so many weeks. I mean, 10 episodes. We're 10 episodes in.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's 1/10 of 100.
Yeah. Look at that.
It's 100th of 1,000.
Yeah. So
it's 1,000th of 10,000.
Also, we've had somebody be like, you guys need to really buckle in and get to the gaming part, because a lot of people have questions about gaming, which is why I'm looking at that machine.
That's why I'm gaming
under my TV, and like, because that is my main gaming machine other than handhelds, to be like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. Okay. Anyway, so check back next week for your fix of Linux talk. If I put out that call for all the people who were, I'd asked how many people of you listened to the Full Nerd podcast.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like, no, I'm just here for Linux.
What's a Full Nerd?
Yeah. So if you don't know what the Full Nerd podcast is, it's a weekly podcast that both Will and I are on, along with co-host Brad Charkis, who's the kind of the
honcho,
the head honcho at PCWorld. and Elena Yee. We got a producer, Willa Sly. We do that live on YouTube every Tuesday at 11 a.m. But
Pacific.
we also have Pacific. We also have an audio version, and we talk about DIY desktop PC stuff.
Yeah, building hard, like what's going on with hardware.
Yeah. So very hardware focused. Or if you are into hardware, PC hardware, and you want to hear about that, then go subscribe over there.
I like to think of this as the softer side of the full nerd. You and me, soft lighting, Linux, it's software. You know.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Anyway, thanks everybody. Thanks, Will.
Hey, thanks, Adam. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
We've never done this in person before, have we?
Well, with
Maybe
Wendell. We did it with Wendell.
Oh, yeah. With Wendell.
Yeah.
I know that I was just so in awe to be in Wendell's
we were
presence.
just staring at Wendell.
I forgot you were there,
Me
if
too.
I'm being honest.
Me too.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see you later. Bye.